Today, but today we're going to be dealing with one-point perspective and its many iterations. To be perfectly frank, one-point perspective, kind of like blocking in, is one of those things that, like, once you start to see it in 3 dimensions, once you start to think about it in the way it actually works in the real world, it's really easy and it's kind of hard not to see it. But at first it might be a little bit of a tricky situation, so I'm going to help you guys out a little bit along the way. So what I've got here, I've just got different colored pencil just so I can make things a little more vibrant for you. But what I want you to do is kind of follow along a little bit. I'm going to play, kind of walk you through a couple examples, and then once I've walked you through, then we'll play a couple games to lock it into your noodle. Obviously today is going to be a little bit of a shortened day, but that's no problem. We're going to have more than enough time to have you guys practice a little bit. On Monday, like I said, please remember, please be here for Monday. We're going to be talking about some pretty important stuff when it comes to this upcoming one-point perspective project. All right, so I've got my paper here. So what I'm going to ask you guys to do is this, just very super duper basic, okay? I'm going to show you the most simplest way to actually show what one-point perspective is, and then I'm going to explain how it actually works. You guys might have done this before because it's something I used to do when I was in like 3rd grade all the time. So just draw a square, and inside of that square draw another square, just kind of like right in the middle there. Okay. Yeah, that's all right. Again, I'm just kind of walking you through step by step here. Now, all you're going to do is you're going to connect each corner, so like this. And it looks like a hallway, right? I mean, in essence. Now, if you want, you could kind of play around with this a little bit, and we're going to in a little bit. But again, just the basic concept of the idea that this now has a little bit more of a 3-dimensionality to it, right? So if I wanted to, and you don't have to do this, but I'm saying, if I wanted to, I could draw, put like a window in here, put like a doorway, and it starts to feel like you're going back into space, right? So what we're going to do is I'm going to explain to you how we can actually do this and how we can make it correct every single time. Now, if you're someone who thinks a little more artistically in the sense of you really like using gesture lines and sketchy and blocking in like this and kind of just feeling it out, that's great and fine, and that helps you a lot in the world of blocking in the world of still life. It will not help you here, however. If you are someone who likes to work more with rulers, you like to think a little more mathematically, not necessarily with numbers, but just logically. There is a point A and a point B, and that's all there is. Then you're going to be just fine with this project. It is very logical, the way it works, okay? So, we're going to start fresh a second here. Again, we're just kind of sketching, so size and scale, whatever you do on your sketch paper is fine. All right, so what I want to do is I'm going to try to impart to your brains how the heck one-point perspective works. And we talked about it before, and again, I'm just going to sketch this real quick, so just kind of look. We talked about before the fact that there's kind of this horizon line, and the horizon line is in essence where your eyeball goes. It's your eye level, right? And we know that anything above the eye level, like I did before, remember I held that stool above, you could see underneath of it. And if anything's below your eye level, you could see the top of it. So if you had like a box and you're looking down on it, obviously you can see the top. Maybe you can see a couple of the sides, but you can't see underneath of a box you're looking at the top of. It doesn't work. It breaks reality. So what I want you to do is this. Literally, just draw a line, just like I have here. What I want you to do is, on top of that line somewhere, draw a square. Just a regular old flat 2-dimensional shape square. On the line, draw a square. And below the line, draw a square. They can be stacked neat and tidy, just like that. So you got one above, one on, and one below. That's just fine. Okay, now, for the sake of argument, I'm going to say that our 1 point, remember we're talking about 1-point perspective, so obviously we need a singular point. I'm going to say that our 1 point is right here. So just go ahead and somewhere on your line, just put a dot, say to the right side of your line. So again, you've got 1, 2, 3 squares, and on your line you've got a dot off of the center toward the right somewhere. Okay? So far, like I said, pretty rudimentary. This is not rocket science by any means. All right, so here we go. So to help you think about things in one-point perspective, again, we already drew those cubes, or some of you did in your still life, so this shouldn't come as too much of a shock. But what we're going to do is this. Imagine for a second that you have X-ray vision. You literally are Superman. Congratulations. I don't know why you're in an Art 1 class, but instead of saving Metropolis. But, you know, so you are Superman. You have X-ray vision. You've decided to use it to help you draw one-point perspective because, you know, Lois is on a vacation or something. So here we go. What you're going to do is this. Each one of the corners of your box, and this goes for all the boxes, each one of them, kind of draw a line, connect the dots. Each one of the lines, connect the dots. And just kind of freehand it for now. When we do our actual project, we'll be using a ruler for this, so it'll look really neat and tidy. Just kind of freehand it. You're just connecting the dots from one corner to the big dot that we had there. Remember, that big dot is our focal point.
They overlap.
Sure. Yeah, remember that these are just practices. You can't really do them wrong. Don't stress out about it.
Alright, that's kind of cool.
Okay, good? All right. So, we've got our focal point over by this old man's eyeball. Remember, this is our horizon line, right? Now, if you think about it like we talked about before, right? If it's above our eye, then obviously we'll see underneath of it. So what we need to do is we need to cut off this. Right now, this is like the longest rectangle in the history of man. It goes back into nothingness. Well, we need to cut it off. So here's the deal. Remember that 1, 2, 3 rule that we talked about before, right? We did the, I draw a line, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and that gives me a cube, right? Everything's parallel, right? 1, 2, 3, those are parallel, right? These are parallel, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to mimic that 1, 2, 3 over here. So we've already got 1, we've already got 2. So what we're going to do is we're going to draw a third one. Doesn't really matter where, but just make sure that it's parallel. So it's going perfectly straight, so this one we're adding is going to be perfectly horizontal. So we've added this line, this horizontal line. And again, it doesn't matter how far back on our square we get, just as long as it's horizontal. Now, where this line intersects, right here, I'm going to do vertical. So you can see I've got 1, 2, so now I've got a third vertical. In essence, I'm making like a backwards L.
I do that sometimes. Alright.
I do too, all the time. Yeah, you should see my lemonade stands. My E's are always backwards. It's adorable. Literacy is very low. I always said I'd be a really good Egyptian. So I could like draw all the words. Be like snake, bucket, owl, feather, man doing this. Be great. I could just draw out all my English papers. So at this point, all you need to do is kind of clean it up because I go like this. 1, I'm just following the lines that I already drew back to this dot. I've got a box that's going back into space. If I wanted to, I could even add a little bit of shading. Maybe color one of those squares in. Now I've got like the underside of the box. And I've got 2 sides facing me. Right? So it's almost like I've got this like hovering box. Just a box. You guys ever play Metal Gear? No? Is that an older game? Whenever you hide in a box, soldiers come over to you and they say, "Hey, what's that?" And you go, "Just a box." I know. Looks pretty good. So, now let's do, what don't you guys do? Ignore the middle one for a second. Ignore the middle one. Using what I just showed you, try to do the one on the bottom. See if you can figure that out. You got this L shape here. I can do that again, maybe? I don't know. Something like that. Dangerous. Totally. It's like a backward 7, right? So what you end up doing is you kind of put this extra piece here. In essence, what we're doing, if it helps you to think about it, again, just think about it in a different way. Remember whenever we first started drawing cubes, I told you about, for still life, I told you if you wanted to, you kind of do the old style here. You kind of draw like a square, and then you kind of copy paste, and you offset it, and then you connect with those dots, and that gives you a transparent cube, right? You guys have done that before. In essence, that's all we're doing over here, right? Because you can see very clearly here that I've got my front-facing square. That's the same as this guy right here. They're the same. And then I've got my back side right here. So really, my back side is exposed. I'm showing it off to all the cool ladies at the beach. I just say, here's my back side of my cube that I have, right? So in essence, these lines right here are the same as well. Right? It's just that I'm not showing it in X-ray vision mode. That's the only difference. Bless you, by the way. Does that make sense? All right, now I'm going to throw you for a curveball. The middle one's a little bit different because it's right on the horizon line. It's right on that horizon line, so it's going to be a little bit different. See if you can figure it out. Hold on. Let everyone else catch up to you, table face. How's that an ooh? I said he was smart. So I got the front face. This goes back into space. Let's see, there's a line, so I can cut it here maybe. Something like that. Dangerous. Challenging. What do you guys think? What did you come up with?
It just gets
Yeah, exactly. I mean, just like I got here, right? So it goes, I can see the front, and I can see it going back into space. I can see the side, but I can't actually see the top, and I can't actually see the bottom because it's right at my horizon line. And because it's right at that eye level, it's like holding up, a textbook or a cell phone directly to your eye. You can't see the top or the bottom at the same time. It just isn't possible. And because it's right there, all I see are the two sides, okay? So does this make sense, what we have, right? I've got my 1, 2, and 3, above, below, and right at. And you can see the importance of that horizon line because it tells you where something is in space. Basically where it is in space as according to your eyeball, right? Make sense? All right, now we're going to mix it up a little bit, okay? So this makes sense. We're good with this. So let's try something a little different. What I want you to do is this. This time, draw that same line. That's going to be a horizon line. Just a quick little liney. This time, I want you to draw a dot right smack in the middle of that line. We'll say again, that's our focal point. Horizon line, focal point. Okay? Now this is going to get a little challenging for you. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to draw 3 squares. We're sticking to squares for right now. We're going to switch it up in a second. But draw 3 squares anywhere you want to. I don't even care. Just draw them anywhere you want to. So I'm going to put one here maybe. I'll put one, there, and put one there. Just 3 squares wherever you'd like to. Just kind of around this horizon line. On top, on the bottom, right on the line, right in front of the freaking dot, wherever you want to go. I don't care. Just 3 little squares. All right. Now, remember, I'm just going to walk you through. I'm going to do one over here myself. Just kind of follow along for 1 second. Just to reiterate. So I've got my 4 corners here. So I'm lightly with my pencil here. I'm just going to kind of sketch in and say, okay, this goes back, and now I'll even do the X-ray mode. And then I'm going to think about, okay, well, I've got this kind of square shape, so I'm going to mimic that square shape. Down here, if I had X-ray vision, it would look kind of like that, right? And then all I'm going to have to do is darken in my sides. So I'd have 1, 2, 3. And I cut it off with that L shape. And that gives me my square, my cube, going back into space and above that horizon line, right? Go ahead and give it a whirl real quick and see what you come up with, okay? I'm going to give you guys a couple minutes, and I'm also going to come around and help you out. But give this a whirl. This will help you.